Okay, so here we are in Chapter 4 of Project Horizons. This is Innocence, and I was correct that this is the chapter that introduces Glory. And this is a side note that has nothing to do with Project Horizons as a story. It's just kind of a fun aside. I remember, I don't want to say I was like getting super into Oasis around this point, because I don't know if I ever really have. But there's a lot of Oasis songs that I know and a lot of Oasis songs that I like. But they have an album called What's the Story? Morning Glory. And I really like the song Morning Glory. And I think specifically the reason I went out and like listened to the song is because there's a main character in Project Horizons named Morning Glory. And like I said, I still really like the song. And deadass, I've had it stuck in my head for the past like 3 days now. So, thanks Horizons, thanks Oasis. But anyways, getting into the actual chapter. So in terms of our plot events, we've got Blackjack listening to some audio logs from the Overmare about her paranoia of needing to take over the stable, her distrust of Ribbits, her distrust of Gin Rummy, and her I don't trust Blackjack because Blackjack is Gin Rummy's kid, but I don't know if she's, like, my enemy. I mean, like, she's on the Overmare's list of enemies, but it's also right at the bottom. She does mention that, like, she's been manipulating Duct Tape. She did get Duct Tape killed. Specifically, my understanding is it felt like she was kind of always going to do it anyways, but the fact that Duct Tape had the gall to encrypt EC1101 as insurance under P21's suggestion is she's like, alright, she's a problem, she's going against me now. Now, she has the nerve to insist that I uphold my end of the bargain that I was never going to uphold in the first place. What a fool. And, the way that P21 regards Duct Tape, I find really interesting. Where he's like, look, she's not my friend. She's not someone I had feelings for. But I appreciated her. She did a lot for me. She really cared about me. And I used that to my advantage. I'm not someone who's really gonna shed a tear over any mare from 99, but I am kind of sad that she's gone, and I regret that it is my fault. I can admit that, but it's a complicated situation. And there is kind of that part of me that wonders how much of that is him, like, kind of almost trying to be tough in his own mind. Like, look, like, she didn't really mean that much to me, but as, you know, one pony to another, I could feel basic equine empathy for her. And how much did he actually kind of care for her, but it's easy for him to justify it in his own mind. From what I remember, it is just like, he's like, look, I never saw her like that. I genuinely never did. She was not even a friend. And it takes a while for Blackjack to be able to become his friend and become something more as it goes on. But I do think that's kind of interesting. What I actually found kind of interesting is reading the Overmare, or listening to the Overmare's log. She reminds me kind of Ramses from The Prince of Egypt. As she was talking about it, she's like, yo, it's my stable. I will not be the last Overmare of 99. My brain immediately just filled in with, I will not be the weak link. And, like, I love The Prince of Egypt. I also love the 10 Commandments. Believe it or not, I also like the Book of Exodus. Like, all 3 of these are banger stories. It's the same story, but the different ways that it's told. There's a part of me that's like, I do like The Prince of Egypt more than, like, the 10 Commandments, because I love the relationship between Moses and Ramesses. The focus on them being brothers, and I know I'm going on a tangent that has nothing to do with Horizons, I apologize. Maybe you're almost happy that I'm not talking about Blackjack and, like, talking shit on her. But I love the relationship between the brothers, and my favorite scene in the movie is when Moses comes back, gives Ramses his ring, and Ramses picks it up, and you can see the emotion on his face, and he just closes his eyes, holds the ring, and when he opens his eyes, they're like a fucking cobra, the way they're staring at Moses. It's fantastic. But I'm also like, dude, there is so much like gravitas throughout the Ten Commandments and the way these people hold themselves and talk to each other. Yul Brynner just steals every scene he's in Ramsey. My favorite scene in that movie is when Moses is getting exiled. Like, here is your kingdom. With the, I don't remember the exact line, but it's like with the cobra and the scorpion for subjects. He's like, but you need a scepter. And just like picks up a stick and hands it to him. He's so savage. It's awesome. But anyways, like the Overmare's mental state, you know, it made me think of that. I thought that was kind of neat. They, again, mentioned Sanguine a couple times. I don't even know if I could put that under a big picture thing, because they've already mentioned the character. But Blackjack and P21 are kind of discussing, like, so what's our plan? What are we trying to do? What they settle on is, let's find out what we can about EC 1101, because clearly it's important. Let's see what we can find about the Sanguine guy. And Blackjack's like, maybe we can kill him. Sure, Blackjack, like, whatever makes you happy. So we get that. They find, I don't remember exactly what it was. I just read it yesterday. I think it was like an old Pegasi base. I think it was like a weather monitoring station. But they go in, they get attacked by robots, and I've said before, like, I'm not counting monsters. And robots, I think, are case by case. If they come across as genuinely sentient, again, Cognitum to me absolutely fucking counts. But, excuse me, these just kind of random mook robots, I'm not gonna put them on the kill count. They kill a bunch of robots, they find some Pegasi bodies, they find bones, they find these piles of ash. Some of them are fresh, some of them are not. I will be honest, again, it's kind of one of those situations where there's a few times where, like, there's a body, there's, like, 2 bodies. I'm like, cool, I can count this. When they're just, like, there's piles of ash, I'm like, I don't know. I guess that implies there's more than 1, so I can say 2, but I'll put 2, but... Man, counting kills in Horizons is a lot harder than I thought. Not because there's so many to keep track of, but there's so many that are clearly here that are not super well defined. And granted, I'm actually not going to give Somber any shit for that. This is just like a fun personal project. I'm like, yeah, while I'm rereading it, I would like to do this. With the way some of these things are described, it's not necessarily like conducive to that. But the way they're described often gets the point across that, like, in Boneyard, there's a lot of fucking bones here. Like, there's like almost cities worth of dead people. And here, like, yeah, there's bodies inside and there's the leftovers of the bodies. Like, I feel like it does work for what the story is trying to do. I think it actually does it quite well. Yeah, there's also this bit where Blackjack learns that her eyes glow in the dark, which, I'll be honest, I totally forgot about. There's, the audiobook that I'm listening to uses the cover art for the story, and on it, Blackjack's eyes are glowing, and when I looked at it, I was like, dude, I totally forgot she could do that. How early does that happen? Oh, so it's early, like, it's because of the Silver Spoon radiation. Got it, but, alright, but... that's the thing, they do meet Glory. Glory shoots Blackjack in the face. There's a scene later where I don't remember who all is in the crew at that point. I think it's everybody but Boo, but maybe Boo is there too. And Blackjack's complaining. She's like, dude, all of my party members have tried to kill me at some point. Most of them have directly shot me in the face. And then you got Scotch just going like, Blackjack, I haven't tried to kill you. You know what? You're right, Scotch. Thank you. Thank you for being the one friend I have who hasn't tried to end my life. You're cool. Everyone else, yo, fuck y'all. Like, it's a really fun scene. I think it happens in Chapel. Like I've said before, when Horizons is like I think when Horizons is trying to be funny, it can be really funny. Blackjack is a very funny character, and it's those not human, but you know what I mean. It is those human interactions, not always between the main cast, because sometimes it's with the side characters too. One of my personal favorites is when they're on the seahorse and Blackjack and Captain Thrush are drinking. I don't remember who does it first. I think it's Thrush, like, finishes her glass and just puts it on her horn, and Blackjack goes, "That makes perfect sense," and then just does the same shit. It's funny. It's gold. I love shit like that. And when the main characters can just interact with each other as people, and sometimes, like, when it's plot relevant, it can still be good and still be interesting. I'm like, I just love watching these characters interact. You know, as fucked up as Horizons is, this might feel weird to say, I would watch a sitcom of just Blackjack and Co. And honestly, with how funny the story can genuinely be, I think it could be really good. But yeah, Glory gets introduced. They listen to some more audio log of some of the Pegasi dying in... the Pegasi dying in this weather station. They're dying of the radiation poisoning. The Enclave sealed themselves up, didn't come to save anybody. Any pony. Blackjack tells Glory that there's some raiders up yonder. It's like, okay, these are the people that hurt your friends and took all your shit. Do you want to get revenge? No, not particularly. Oh. Well, I think you need a pick-me-up, and there's nothing more fun than killing raiders. Do you want to just go kill some raiders? You think killing people is fun? I mean, no. Because there's actual reason to do this. They're monsters. They're fucking problems. And now they are armed in addition to being dangerous. Someone needs to stop that shit. 2, there's kids in the area. And I've kind of made those kids' lives worse. So if I can do something to help out, that would be good. 3, I need supplies, I need money, and if I'm gonna get them from someone, I would rather it be from the scum of the earth, so that way I don't have to feel bad about it. And yeah, admittedly, it is kind of fucking fun to kill them. So then they go fight some raiders. It's mostly Blackjack fighting raiders. Glory does help. And after they kill all the... Like, Glory gets the last kill, so I guess it's technically a Glory kill. Sorry. Like, Clay's been playing through Doom, and we were actually talking about Glory kills, like, last night or the night before. I'm like, hey, it's a Glory kill. I will go and say, before I get into the numbers with the kill count, even though Glory is the one who technically killed him, I'm still giving the kill to Blackjack. I'm not taking it away from Glory, because I'm not doing kill counts for the rest of the cast. I'm just doing it for Blackjack. Here's my 2 reasons why. Number 1, think of it as like Overwatch rules. In Overwatch, you don't have kills and assists, like if you do damage but someone else gets the kill. If 2 people do damage to the same player and that player dies, it counts as a kill for both of you. Blackjack did actually shoot at the dude and do some damage. I think it counts. Number 2 is I look at this from like a legal perspective and something like conspiracy, where they are actively working together and conspiring together to go to this place, fight the raiders, and kill them. Blackjack is actively encouraging her team to fight and kill. To me, that counts. I didn't... What is it, Princess? Do you need to go outside? Here, let me pause real quick and I will let the doggos outside. Okay, as I was just trying to say, in Chapter 2, when they go to the schoolhouse, I did not count the ones that P21 blew up after Blackjack got knocked out. Part of that is, like, I actually don't know the number. It sounds like it's more than 1, so maybe 2, but maybe there's, like, 3 of them. I don't know. Like, if it's vague, I try not to count it, but I might start doing, like, an at least 2 kind of thing. We'll see. The other big reason is Blackjack wasn't actively encouraging him to do that. She was literally passed out, had no control over what he was doing. So I'm not going to count that. But I feel like in time, like looking forward and trying to be transparent about it, if there's a situation where Blackjack says, this is what we're doing, we're going to go in, we're going to kill a bunch of people, anyone who dies there, I'm kind of putting it on Blackjack. Now, if there's a situation where Blackjack is saying, hey, fight's done, don't kill this person, and one of her teammates does anyway, and I don't remember if that happens. Knowing Rampage's personality, it probably does at some point. But shit like that, to me, it's like, that doesn't count. Like, what Rampage does to Thorn, like, yeah, you left her alone with Rampage, that doesn't count. That's not something you knew about. Like, I don't remember if Blackjack really blames herself for that one. Knowing Blackjack, she probably does. It's not one that I would put on her. But this dude, that even though Glory is the one that kills him, he still goes on Blackjack's count. Let's see. After that, yeah, after Glory kills him and she starts breaking down, it's like, yo, I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to save people. What the fuck is wrong? Blackjack just hugs her, lets her cry. And the chapter ends with them listening to Homage giving, like, talking over the radio about the security mayor. This new person that's come out of the stable is laying down the law of the land and kicking ass, and Blackjack's like, wait, that's me! I don't like this. I don't like that I might be getting this reputation as, like, a folk hero, when the other day I got a kid killed because I did something stupid. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel earned. And that's the note that the chapter ends on. I think overall, like, and like, I'll go a little bit deeper into some of the other stuff. Like, I want to talk about Glory's character for a bit. I'm probably gonna talk about Blackjack's character in every fucking chapter. I will be shocked if there's chapters where I'm like, I have nothing to say about Blackjack today. Overall, this is a chapter that's just kind of okay. Like, obviously it's important because it introduces one of the main characters in the story. But if Glory was introduced in another way, like if she was in the school with the other Crusaders, I think that probably would have been okay. Or I think it's in the next chapter. I don't remember where it is that they go, but I think it's when Blackjack finds Folly in, like, Trottenheimer's body. Like, maybe they could have found Glory in there and, like, condensed them a little bit. I don't know. Like, this chapter is not bad by any means. But when I look at some of the previous ones, I'm like, oh, okay, this is why this chapter is, like, really big, or here's some of the big picture moments from this chapter. This one doesn't really have any. Like, they mentioned Sanguine, but he's been mentioned. Like, they mentioned the Enclave, and yeah, the Crusaders mentioned the Enclave too. I think the only thing, like, yeah, let me go ahead and skip ahead to just talking about the big picture moments, because there's really not a lot. Yeah, Shadowbolt Tower, Sanguine, the Enclave, they've already been mentioned. I thought Blackjack looked into the big Macintosh Maripony orb before Glory joined the party. Clearly I was wrong, because it still hasn't happened yet. So I don't know when the fuck happens. Like, I don't think it's in play. It might be the next chapter. It might be when Blackjack... sorry, you started that check. It might be when Blackjack is by herself after... Oh, I don't even remember what that place was called. But, like, after the fight with Gorgon and the shit with Lancer... she's by herself for a bit until she gets the flank. That's, what, 2, 3 chapters, something like that. Maybe that's when she listens to it, but I thought it was pre-Glory. The only other thing that kind of stuck out to me is, I think his name was Broly, was the dude giving the audio logs about how he's dying. He does mention that there's a bunch of kids, and there's kids in the hospital. I'm like, oh, I think those are the kids from Play, and we're gonna see them pretty dang soon. I'm excited for that, because it is one of my favorite chapters. But I think that's all I have to say about that. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I'm gonna talk about the characters, but the dogs just barked, so I'm gonna pause again, and then I'll get to Glory. Okay, so talking about Glory, I'm not gonna get to her whole big character arc at this point. I feel like there's probably a better time to do that. There's this one scene I remember. I don't remember what chapter this is. I don't know if this was in chapter 5, if this was in Play. It might have been sometime after Play. Most of the story is sometime after Play, so it's a very good chance that it is. But she's making, like, her own audio log, and she's like, dude, I don't fucking understand, Blackjack. Here is this person who she's like, oh, there's a dead body, and now I've listened to their story, I need to bury them. And you're like, oh, this is a good person. Then she'll murder like 12 people, not give a shit, say it's fun. And then when there's a bunch of kids, she'll hit the button, and you're like, I don't get. I feel like that's probably a better time to talk about Glory's character and the shit that she goes through, because, oh boy, there's a lot. But I want to go ahead and talk about, again, from the lens that I'm reading the story through on my second go through, that the lucidity lens, as I like to call it, that this is a story that is taking place in Blackjack's head. Who is Morning Glory, or what is Morning Glory? Like, what is it that she represents? And I've got a couple different theories. My first theory, which is something I talked about earlier, is that Glory is someone who genuinely reached out to Blackjack after the incident. Maybe this was a friend, maybe this was with a romantic interest, maybe it was a friend that became a romantic interest. But after, the loss of Innocence, again, that's kind of how I see Scootle, she meets somebody that has this big impact on her, that wants to help, that wants to heal her, and wants to make this relationship work. And despite the fact that Blackjack is interested in this person and is interested in this relationship, and it seems like it's a healthy relationship, she is the one that fucks it up. Because it's not something she's actually ready for. Throughout the story, we see Blackjack. Glory is a monogamist. Blackjack is, what do you call that? Polygamist? Is that how you pronounce that? I guess. Blackjack is into polygamy. Blackjack is into anything that moves. Glory's like, I want it to just be us, and Blackjack goes, it's an open relationship. Everyone's involved, and everyone's gonna know about it. Oh boy, the scene that lives in my head rent-free is after she fucks Stig, which is actually really important for Blackjack's character. And it's like, I don't want to just joke about it, because it actually is a really impactful scene and relationship. She doesn't record the sex, but she records this message to Glory saying like, hey, so, I just met this dude, I just fucked him, it was awesome, I feel so much better, I feel like me again. I feel like I have undergone this trauma from what happens in Black and have been able to move past it. I'm not just gonna be a victim anymore. I'm gonna be Blackjack again, and I'm so excited for that. And I wanted to let you know, there is kind of a shitty thing that I did, but there was a reason, and I feel better, and I can't wait to see you, and oh boy, the shit I'm gonna do to you when I see you, it's gonna be amazing. And then when she runs into Glory again, she's like, Blackjack, you just broadcasted to the whole fucking world that you cheated on me. You just told everybody that you cheated on me and how amazing it was, and then started talking in public to everybody about all the shit you were gonna do to me afterwards. And you thought this was a good idea? You thought I would be okay with it? Like, what did you think? No, never mind. I don't need to know, because you don't think, Blackjack. Shit like this fucking hurts me. And you know it fucking hurts me. And somehow you do it anyway and expect things to be okay. What's wrong with you? Fast forward to the ending of the story, when Glory's like, dude, I'm not doing this anymore. You are my friend. You are my companion. And if you need me to save the world, I got you. But we're not a thing anymore, Blackjack. For my own mental health and emotional well-being, we're done. And even though Blackjack is wants to make this relationship work, and in her own way is trying. She just can't, because it's something she's not ready for. She's too damaged to be able to maintain this relationship. I think that's who Glory represents, or what she represents. But I have another theory as well. And there is this description when Blackjack meets Glory for the first time, and she's like, oh, she has kind of this, like, military almost look going on, and, she's like, she's so small and compact and all that shit. There was it 3 or 4? Okay, here was the phrase. She described Glory as, quote, young, traumatized, and still innocent, end quote. And as I listened to that, I kind of stopped for a second and went, oh, Glory represents Blackjack. Like, she represents Blackjack pre-trauma, pre-incident. Or at the very least, is Blackjack after the incident when it's still fresh, but is not, like, because it hasn't fully, like, settled in or taken in, like, root with her yet. There's almost, it's like, it's Blackjack while there's still hope that she could be okay. And there are a few things that really made me think that. Number one, again, was that description, she's traumatized, but she's still innocent. There's the fact that, like I said, this is a relationship that means a lot to Blackjack. And, like, she is trying her best to make sure that Glory is okay throughout the story. But shit keeps happening. Like how Blackjack was traumatized by what happened to her, but the more she had to live with it, the worse it got and the worse she felt. There's, again, kind of the fact that this happened right after Scootle, and like I said, it's like, if that's the loss of innocence, it's interesting that in the very next chapter, she meets this person that's hurt, but still trying to keep on to that. So again, it's almost like this is the part of her that's trying to keep her innocence still. Like, there's a chance for me to still be okay. And her relationship with Glory is Blackjack's struggle with self-love after the incident, and the fact that she keeps fucking up the relationship with Glory is Blackjack fucking up her relationship with herself. And fuck, that's incredibly sad if that's the case. Like, fuck, man, like, that's not okay. And another part that really stuck out to me, and again, like, in context, like, at face value, it still works and makes sense, is that after Glory, like, kills that dude and is, like, screaming and crying, Blackjack just hugs her. And that was a moment that really hit me, of, like, Blackjack in this world creating this version of herself that is incredibly vulnerable and volatile, and just giving her a hug, letting her know that it's like, you're going to be okay, which might not have been something that she actually got. Oh, that one hurt. Like, that one hurt reading it and thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of, yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to say about Glory in this chapter. Again, like, I'll get more into her, into her character and, like, Fallen Glory. I think Fallen Glory is after the Wings, and then she fucking turns into Rainbow Dash, because that's a fucking thing that happens. And I'm not trying to throw shade at that. Like, I love Killing Joke, and that shit is hype as fuck. And yeah, it does some cool shit in this story. But let's talk about Blackjack. As you do, as I do, let me talk about my homegirl right here. Something I have said for quite a while now is the thing that made me want to reread Project Horizons, like I have to read it now, was reading Worm, because of a lot of the similarities between the two stories, weirdly enough. And it was reading Arc 21 specifically, and I was seeing Taylor as she's being interrogated by Tag and Alexandria, and how stubborn she is, and how like anti-authority she is, and her just like, hey, I'm right, fuck all of you, all of that shit. And I'm like, this is a bit frustrating to read, but it makes a lot of sense. And weirdly enough, whenever I start getting really frustrated or annoyed with Taylor and her decision making, it makes me like the character more, because I find her so interesting, and I think she's generally very consistent. Now, she does change the things that she becomes willing to do. She goes a lot further as the story progresses. At first it's like, this is shit we can't do, but for the greater good, she'll keep going, and she keeps pushing those boundaries. You give Taylor an inch, she'll take a fucking mile, and you see that throughout, and she is always able to justify it to herself, even if you don't agree with the justifications. And I find her so interesting. But when I think about Blackjack and her flexible morality and her inconsistencies, I don't think, man, this makes this character so interesting to read. I go, this is who I have to deal with for 1.8 million words. I guess excluding chapter 63, where quite a bit of it is like third person and not just Blackjack. And, you know, like 72 and 75, and even some of that I still have to deal with Blackjack and the Princess Luna fiasco in 75. I'm not a fan of that shit. I'm not a fan of Blackjack's version of the Khepri arc. But it was that, like, I want to know if after 10 years, am I going to read Blackjack and be like, no, this is like Taylor, this is super interesting and it works, or am I going to be annoyed? And so far, I'm kind of annoyed, and this chapter didn't exactly help. The biggest problem for me is the fact that Blackjack says I'm not an executioner in chapter 1. The thing I was really wondering before I started reading it again is, like, at what point does she say that and it becomes a catchphrase and an important part of her character? Is it after Scootle? After being responsible for the death of a child, she goes, I have to change my ways, I have to clean up my act, because this was fucking bad and I want to be a better person. Was it after Play? After putting down 40 kids? Again, and like in context, that, like, I get it. It might not have been the best decision, but for someone like Blackjack, it doesn't feel like... For someone who says I'm not an executioner, and after, again, shooting someone in the face, it's like, no, I can't pull the trigger again because, like, that would be killing. Being able to hit that button, like, that's interesting. Is that what changes her mind? Is it the fact that, even as they say in chapter 1, she doesn't really see death as death? It's not like this permanent thing. It's not this horrible thing. It's like, look, in 99... you're here today, and sometimes you're gone tomorrow. Like, duct tape's been dead for weeks. I didn't even realize it. Like, it just doesn't mean anything. So she's able to be really trigger happy. She's able to shoot to kill because it doesn't matter. It doesn't have consequence. But after some of these moments, Scootle, the 40 foals, or I don't know, her getting that audio log of murdering P21's lover in front of him, the moment where Blackjack goes, I fucking executed that dude. Okay. I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be a killer. I don't want to hurt people the way I hurt P21 by taking away the person he loved. Like, you know that scene in Final Fantasy VII after Aerith dies, when, I think it is Cloud, what's the Blackjack? When Cloud is like, Aerith won't be able, like, she won't be able to, like, fuck, I don't remember exactly what the line is, but he's talking about all the things that she can no longer do because she's gone. Or how after she dies, whoever is in your party will react to it, and every party member has a different reaction because it hits everybody differently. Blackjack, after being out of the stable for a while, realizing how death hits people, and how some of these deaths have hit her, changes her mindset and goes, I can't shoot first and shoot to kill. I can't be an executioner. And that's how she is for the rest of the story. That would really work. That would make a lot of sense. But she's already saying, hey, I'm not an executioner. I can't pull the trigger again and actively kill this person. Meanwhile, she killed 6 people in this chapter. It's like, oh yeah, killing raiders is fun. And you can make the argument that's like, hey, she didn't actually mean it when she said killing raiders is fun. She was just kind of trying to joke with Glory. She even makes a mention that, like, hey, Glory doesn't really understand my style of banter yet. And she has genuine reasons to be able to justify what she does. Counterpoint, though, after those list of justifications, she does also say, yeah, by the way, it is also fun. So, miss, I'm not an executioner, but it's really fun killing raiders. It doesn't work. And her saying already, I'm not an executioner, like, there's things I won't do, feels, it's just lip service, it's just hollow. It feels like it's trying to make her a complex character at this point, but it's not working. It's just making her inconsistent. But if it's something that she builds up to, then it can work. But it just doesn't. Blackjack, don't smile at me. This is why I don't like you. I just want to check. Was there anything else I really wanted to say about Blackjack in this chapter? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, one thing is, when I was doing her catchphrases, I didn't include Red is dead. And she's already kind of said it a couple times, like, I don't know if this is just something she said a few times in the early, like, chapters, or if it's actually a catchphrase that I fucked up. If I see it a few more times in the next couple chapters, I'll probably go back to not, like, fully reread or re-listen, but just like, alright, here's the text, Control F, Red is dead, and then just start adding it to the catchphrase counter. But, yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to say there. Oh, sorry, the thing I do want to say is, again, using the lucidity lens, though, I feel like this does make a lot of sense. If Scoodle is her loss of innocence, and Glory is... Scoodle is the loss of innocence, and Glory is this young, traumatized, but still innocent version of Blackjack that she maybe could save. I feel like her just saying, like, dude, you want to go kill some raiders, is just her trying to take power back and trying to get it back in her life. In a way, kind of similar to Nicole from Class of 09, where I feel like that is why Nicole is the way she is. Like, after the start of the story with her dad committing suicide, blaming her, and never getting closure for that, and her mom always moving and moving and moving, and there's no stability. Her being a terrible person is her finally taking back power and getting control. Does it make her sympathetic? Maybe not, because it's still Nicole. She's an awful fucking person. But I get it. I feel like from that perspective, in Blackjack's world, her cavalier attitude towards killing, it is her getting that power back in her life. And I think it makes a lot more sense. I already talked about the big picture moments and the catchphrase counter. There's really nothing to add, again, unless I go back and start adding Red is Dead. As for the kill count, 114. And here's why. Because there's this one bit where Blackjack, quote, there's enough bodies for 100 ponies. So I'm like, okay, we have an actual number here. I'm putting 100 people on the count. And, in addition to that, like, there was, I think, 4 dead Pegasi that were found inside the place. One of them might have, I think one of them was Broly, so I think I accidentally counted him twice in the 114, so I might go back and correct that. Blackjack's kill count is not 114. It's 6, because there's the 6 raiders that they kill at the donut shop. And again, technically one of them, Glory, got the kill. I still count it as for Blackjack as well. So with that being said, let's see. I probably should have written it down. Let's see. 13, 7, it's 20, 22. I think Blackjack now is at 28 kills. So she's been averaging 7 per chapter, which is about where she needs to be to hit 1,000. Because this is actually a tenable number for her, which is fucking insane. But that was chapter 4. That was Innocence. I actually did a Horizons video under 45 minutes. I'm happy. I'm proud of myself. So I'm going to cut it here so I don't ramble and go over 45 minutes.